Hello everybody, my name is Alex, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at my entire live account history. Now this is going to be a pretty brief look. I'm not going to go super into heavy detail in these. I will only be offering the most basic details. And the reason for this is so I can give you some kind of reference material, because going forward in the coming months, I am going to be talking about these accounts at various points, especially within recaps for the account that I have open now. And so I wanted to have at least something that you guys can come back to and see what it is I'm referencing in another video. Now, my first account I won't be talking about at all in this video because I've already released a pretty full-length description of how that went. There's going to be a link down below in the description. So if you want the full story there, just click the link below. Now, my second account is difficult to talk about because I always want to go into more detail. I always want to teach a lesson or, do something valuable for the viewer. But that kind of thing is easily going to turn into 20 minutes of runtime, and I just want this to be a quick rundown. So the most important details here are that it's when Freedom Trading was launched, lines up very closely to this account. So it represents the start of Freedom Trading. Also, it's the account that was riddled with problems and mistakes like no other account. It's not even close to close. This was and continues to be the toughest experience in my entire trading career. Now, account number 3 was one that I launched in the early days of 2020. And that's especially interesting because I do have documented history leading right up to that account. So if you look on my channel, you will see a simulator run from 2019 where I was testing myself in the simulator. Now, the reason for that was because I wasn't happy with my TFGO1 performance, which is the previous account. So I threw myself back into the simulator to make sure that I was actually doing something that was profitable. And as you'll see on my channel, when I review my simulator results from that run, I say, no, I don't think I'm ready. I think I need more testing, and these results are not enough to convince me. I stated that very clearly. And that indeed was the case coming into 2020. However, also early in 2020, I made a realization that made me change my mind. And that realization was the profit potential of COVID vaccine-related news. Now, if you're a trader that trades these small caps, the little biotech companies, you know that news can have a really big impact. And even when the sector is really, really specific, the news can still have a really big impact on the price. And so I figured that with the size, the scale of this COVID problem, that everybody in the world is going to be paying attention to the companies that have good news. And so I reasoned that despite the fact that I'm not maybe all that ready, according to my own opinion, I have to get involved in this. I can't sit idly by. This is just too big of an opportunity. Now, exactly what I did, how I managed these two competing ideas of I'm not ready and yet I can't wait, how I made that work is too long to explain in this video. So instead, I'll just summarize it in saying that account number 3 was one where I went in with the maximum pressure to perform and with the minimum preparation. This was one where I was scrambling to get involved very quickly, and I did not really prepare thoroughly. And despite that very unfavorable combination, I actually turned out to have the biggest winner that I've experienced so far in terms of both cash and ROI. So that brings us to account number 4. And in account number 4, I think the piece of information that really tells the story the best is how much I cashed out, which, as you can see on the chart, is a negative number. So what that means is I not only lost, on my last day, I not only lost the entire balance, but I actually finished in the negatives. I had to send money to the broker in order to settle my debt because I finished with less than a $0 balance. And I think that really speaks to how aggressively I was playing, how overconfident I was. I definitely feel like account number 3 made me a little bit cocky, and I thought I could get away with, things that probably were a bit dangerous. And, so the story in this one was I went in with a full buy-in, that 39.35, that was all at once. Whereas in the past, I had normally scaled in, done small buy-ins, trying to run it up, and then kept some backup. In this account, account number 4, I did not do that. It's the only time I didn't do that. So I put the full buy-in in, and then I started building it very aggressively. I was using margin all the time, maxing out my margin on little scalps and doing all kinds of really risky stuff. And after getting my account up to 9,000 from that 4,000 starting level, I just blew up. Like, it went downhill. I got caught in my first news halt of all time. That happened in account number 4. And I suffered a massive loss. I quintupled my lifetime biggest loss for one day. I quintupled that record during this account. And 2 weeks later or so, it was only open for like 12 days or 14 days. 14 days later, I blew up the account. It finished in the negatives. And so, needless to say, given the catastrophic result, this is one that I think contains a lot of valuable lessons about what not to do, how to check your emotions, how to check your ego, stuff like that. And that's what I really think I did leading into account number 5. So with account number 5, I was trying to combine the good things that I did in account number 3 and eliminate the bad things that I did in account number 4. For example, I slowed down my share size. I scaled everything back. I did not buy in the full amount at a time. I started with around 1600 USD was my first deposit. And, I took a lot of days off. There are so many things I did different. My sessions were quicker. I didn't stick around. I tried to keep my mind fresh. I was focused on sniping the setups that I know the most, really chasing the halts, getting involved in halted stocks, and trying to avoid the leakage that came from my scalp attempts in account number 4. And my efforts really paid off big time. I think even though it doesn't really show up in the P&L and the ROI, account number 5 is really absolutely the one that I'm the most proud of. It's the one I built the safest, and it's where I made the most progress in a lot of the battles that I've been fighting with myself, like discipline. That's something I always struggle with, and I come up with these elaborate schemes to try and control it. And finally, it seems like during account number 5, I really found the winning method. And that method led me to trade a lot less, a lot fewer days of the year. And that really turned out to be the winner. I never had like a really scary moment. And on top of that, it's worth noting that I got caught in my second news halt during account number 5. And yet it didn't lead to the account blowing up like it did in account number 4. And yet the big loss that I took in account number 4 wasn't actually as big as the one that I took in account number 5. I had news halts in both of those accounts, and the one in number 5 was bigger, and yet I came back from it and continued to build very safely, did not let it affect me. And so I think my result in account number 5 is really shows what I learned in 2020, because you can see there's 3 accounts that I had just in the borders of this year, and that's quite a lot. And I think each step of the way, I made some adjustments. And even though some of those adjustments were wrong, I think all the right answers found me in account number 5. And now we've reached the bottom of the list, which is account number 6. And that means we're done here because account number 6 has yet to be put into action. It's currently ready. I just opened it. Everything's ready to go, but I have yet to take any trades. So I don't have anything to discuss. And even though I do want to offer a preview of my attitude going into this account, my goals and all that, that's going to be covered in another video. So we're pretty much done here, and there you have it. That's my history over the last 4 years. And I gotta say, it's a little annoying. This chart that I built, this is a thing that I built specifically for this video. My other versions of this are way bigger, and they don't fit on the screen. So I condensed it, and I gotta say, it actually kind of pisses me off to see 4 years of just history contained in this little one chart. I look at it and I think, where's all the hardship? Where's all the struggle? Where's all the heroic moments of sacrifice? Like, come on, and there's such a big story in here. And that's really the point I'm trying to drive home here is that, I've shown so little online so far. Most of my story sharing has taken place, face to face with students and people I know in person. And now I'm trying to guide that a little bit online. So until I can get something really decent and extensive up here to detail the finer points of how this journey has looked and what it taught me, for now, here's, the basic rundown. And I hope that helps you guys sort of understand my mindset and where I'm at now as I head into this new year with a new account.